I'm very sorry, but we cannot afford to pay what we owe right now. My husband has gone missing.
No, you misunderstand us.
Ah, I see. I'm sorry you have to see me.
I'm afraid we don't have any new information at the moment. We're still trying to find out as much as we can to inform our search. With this in mind, can we perhaps ask some questions about your family's current situation?
For example, Paimon's struggling to understand why a collector would be strapped for Mora.
That's a long story. Ever since I've known him, he's been an avid collector of all sorts of things. He'd always get so animated when he was showing them to me. I knew nothing about the items myself, but see, everything was fine when we first got married. But as time went by, things changed for the worse.
Uh-oh, what happened?
He lost his sense of restraint. He started buying more and more things, and even resorted to borrowing money just so he could pay for them. Our expenses really spiraled out of control when he started getting interested in weapons. It was awful. There were days when he'd spend hours down at the warehouse, admiring his weapons even as debt collectors were descending upon our house. He wouldn't sell them, wouldn't even touch them. Just sat there staring at them like he was in a trance. I'm happy he has a hobby, and I'm willing to support him, but making ends meet has to come first. I've tried talking to him about it so many times, but he never listens. On the last day that I saw him, I gave him an ultimatum. I said, if he refused to sell his collectibles and pay off his debts, I would divorce him and take the children with me.
Whoa!
And that led to an argument.
Actually, it didn't. Generally, he's a quiet man who likes to go with the flow. On most things, he leaves the decision-making to me. You must understand, I never would have dreamed of threatening him with divorce if the debts hadn't pushed our family to the brink. After I said those words, he froze and was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, he awkwardly mumbled that he would pick out a few items to sell. His voice was so meek and pitiful that I felt an urge to take everything back. But then what? If I didn't draw the line, what would happen to our family? Had I not indulged his bad habits, we wouldn't have found ourselves in such a predicament. And I also don't know if he had actually come to his senses, or if he was simply angry with me. The next thing I heard was that our warehouse had caught fire, and both he and the buyer had gone missing.
I see. I understand. Ame no Mayuya came to purchase a weapon from Mr. Nagato. During the sale, a fire broke out at the warehouse, and both men disappeared.
At first, I assumed they must have gotten into an argument over the price. But my husband has never been one to negotiate. He never even haggles when he's out buying groceries, so it's hard to imagine him getting into a fierce argument.
Maybe he was feeling the pressure from the debts?
I don't know. He just disappeared after the warehouse burned down. Perhaps he's too afraid to come home now that all his collectibles have been lost in the fire, and he's got no way to pay off our debts. Even though I'm still a little mad at him, we're a family, and I want us to face our family's crisis together. As long as he's willing to turn over a new leaf, I know we can work things out.
Please don't get upset. There could be more to this situation than meets the eye. If collecting things is a habit that Mr. Nagato had his whole life, it is quite unusual for this habit to change so drastically over a short period. But the information we gathered from the other side suggests Ame no Mayuya is also a mild-mannered man who would not be likely to start an argument. This situation is getting a little confusing.
A little confusing? More like completely mystifying.
Let's try a change of scenery and see if we can piece together what we've learned. Rest assured, we'll notify you if we find anything.
Thank you so much. I just want him to come home.
Based on the information we've gathered so far, I can only surmise that the sales meeting between the two men was somehow the catalyst for their disappearance. The fire at the warehouse likely played a part in how the situation unfolded. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, Paimon was thinking that maybe someone accidentally knocked over an oil lamp and, nope, never mind. Paimon's brain needs to rest for a while. Over to you.
That is the most likely conclusion based on every... However, in this case, only one of the parties would... If this is indeed what happened, and the innocent man hasn't come forward yet, then it suggests they may have already lost their life. One fact that I keep coming back to is that Amenoma Yuya is polite and well-mannered, while Mr. Nagato is in... Mr. Nagato, the more I ponder it, the more puzzling it becomes. Just what could have happened there? Right. Amenoma Yuya lacks a key distinguishing feature of the attacker, namely that he is principally a practitioner of the blade testing techniques of Amenoma art, not those of the combat-oriented Ishin art.
Darn! We thought we could get two birds with one stone here, but at this rate, it's starting to look like a wild goose chase.
Let's keep going, since we've come this far. If we can solve the case, both Mr. Amenoma and Mrs. Nagato will be able to get some closure.
Okay, but where should we go now?
Let's head out of the city and check out the warehouse. There's still a chance we may be able to find some shreds of evidence. Wait. I hear something,
Oh! This must be another one of those, as sketchy as that whole thing seems. You did put it...
Now I'm picking up a strong...
But there's nothing here.
It's gone now, but I can still sense the direction it left in. It felt very much like that ancient presence in Inazuma. The remnants of the Tatarigami. Indeed. We should remain vigilant.
So it's an
The force is definitely the source of the Tatarigami energy. Judging from the concentration, I would...
Mrs. Nagato said her husband used to hang around the warehouse by...
It could well be that he was already under the influence of Tatarigami energy at that time. From what I've been told, Tatarigami does not turn off, but most will develop a stubborn streak upon being exposed to the... Mr. Nagato had an interest in collecting to begin with. Step back. I'll open the door and take a look inside. If we don't open this door, we can move no closer. You needn't worry.
What's down there?
Everything's buried in debris. I can't see anything. It looks like the fire caused a cave-in.
That was too scary.
All we can do now is keep search. Two ordinary humans, entangled with the Tatarigami. Yes, let's go. If nothing else, it's vital that we find out where... Quiet your mind and focus on what you sense around you. Perhaps you, too, will perceive its ominous presence. Time to go. From this point, the trail appears to split into two. The main source of the Tatarigami energy can...
Whoa! Look at all those hilly trails. They're at strangely.
Something seems to be drawing their attention. Let's take a closer look.
Settle down! Be sanctified. Bow your head.
It's...
Ugh! Look at this red stuff!
by the looks of it, well... According to this letter, a conflict arose. Yuya started the fire that destroyed the warehouse and wounded...
So, where is he?
He was not only mortally wounded, whatever traces there may have been... Yes. Right now, we need to uncover some more important truths. If Amenoma Yuya is attacking other people indiscriminately, then the longer we take to find him, the more people risk meeting the same tragic end.
Right! So let's get moving!
I wouldn't be surprised if he, too, fell prey to the influence of the Tatarigami. For a practitioner of all the clues that at first seemed disparate and disconnected, it seems that now we know the thread that runs between them. I have a hypothesis that, if it's correct, not only explains the series of events leading to the two men's disappearance, but also zeroes in on the attacker's identity.
Wait! You figured it out? So these two cases are connected?
I believe so. But it's something of an outlandish idea. I will only be able to confirm my suspicions once we've met him in person. On with the search. We must stay vigilant. At any point now, we may find ourselves in danger. He seems to have stayed here for a long time.
Why here? Is there anything special about this place?
I'm not sure, but on closer examination...
Show yourself! It's no use hiding anymore.
Kaede Harakazua. It's you, at last.
Aha! What's your problem?
Indeed, there should be no enmity between... But what if instead of facing Amenoma Yuya, we are in fact facing the blade in his hand?
Now that you mention it... Whoa! Shit!
Tatarigami energy. The blade has resided in Mr. Nagato's warehouse for many years, or rather, as a means to occupy Amenoma Yuya.
You're sharper. Many years ago, I was as a descendant of the Kaedehara clan.
I presume it has something to do...
Indeed, he was a blade, and sure enough, in the end, he achieved what he had set out to do. All of his life's work, his wisdom, he not only bestowed upon me the greatest of... In her conceit, the Raiden Shogun lost not only the single most perfect blade in the entire...
So...
The people of the time in which I was born never believed I had that kind of power. They saw me as a After the death of my creator, I decided to leave Snezhnaya and began my long quest. I seek but one thing: to face the full force of the Raiden Shogun's blade and prove my power.
So Amenoma Yuya was not your... Tell me, what happens to those...
My hosts? Who cares what happens to them? They are but tools that serve my mission. When they got tired, or injured, or unusable, I hopped to the next one in line. All I needed them for was to take me back to Inazuma.
You're awful.
After I returned to Inazuma, I decided to bide my time in Nagato's warehouse until Amenoma Yuya handed himself over to me on a silver platter. At long last, I'm approaching my journey's destination. By Amenoma Yuya's body, I have found you, and by your hand, I shall defeat the Raiden Shogun. Kaede Harakazuha, you stood against the Raiden Shogun's Muso no Hitotachi. There can be no other to serve as my host for what is to come. Now, give your body over to me!
That hurts!
Submit to me!
It's fine.
Submit to me!
That hurts! The wind knows me. That hurts!
Silence!
Submit to me!
An oversight on my part.
Teamwork is dreamwork!
Settle down. The tides
To
beckon.
me! Join me and sever that divine light!
Silence!
To me! Shall rewrite history! Do not stand in my way, or I will strike you down too!
Your bluff's fooling no one. You've lost.
Lost? I can never lose. It is this body that has reached its limit, nothing more. Even if you defeat me here, the one who falls will not be me, but this man. He is but a puppet that can be replaced. I can take a new vessel at will. The end result is, and even if I were by any means...
Your fighting style. It isn't, but from your movements, I sense only hatred and arrogance, as well as a thinly veiled mania and despair.
Really? You can tell all that just from his moves?
As I've mentioned before, the forms of Ishin art convey the user's thoughts and feelings. Since the blade is currently possessing Amenome Yuya's body, its movements express the innermost thoughts of the blade. If you ask me, the mania is probably due to your desperate, single-minded ambition. You believe I am your only hope.
Are you trying to claim that I am helpless without you? On his deathbed, he passed to me all of Ishin Art's secrets. The little that you know barely scratches the surface. In that regard, why would I ever need your help?
Because all of that is in the past. I've been wondering why you've not caused more trouble in all the years that you've been in Inazuma. If you are indeed a cursed blade that can possess its owner. Now that I've seen inside your mind, everything finally makes sense. You weren't biding your time. You were trapped. After all the time that's passed, you have grown weak. To the point that you are now unable to acquire a new host without making physical contact.
Oh, that's right. Paimon remembers now. Mr.
Only when Mr. Nagato witnessed his wife... Well, that brings me to my second. You were determined to... I think you realized your limit, but the way I see it, what began as an...
What would you know about any of this? I'm just one step away.
You returned to Inazuma to prove the unparalleled, even if you were to sever that divine light. Is this truly...
You...
Sure, you inherited the secrets of Ishin art. But even as you made your journey to honor this legacy, you treated the ones who wielded you as mere tools to do your bidding. How could you possibly unleash the full potential of Ishin art?
Silence! I must. I will concede that you are
And you should face reality.
Easy for you to say. I have no need of anything that would stand in my way. Not hesitation. It is pointless.
How stubbornly you stick to your... I do not believe for a second that you can challenge the almighty Shogun in your current...
What? Shoot!
Very well. Then find yourself some enemies with whom you wish to cross blade. Once we have dealt with them...
And as for your end of the bargain, if you...
Don't do this, Kazuha!
This is the only way to save Amenome Yuya. The cursed blade's strength is currently very... The power of the Tatarigami...
What?
Even if things take a turn for the... We have a chance here to save an innocent victim.
Your disdain for me betrays your woeful ignorance. Now...
Kazuha?
I felt a little dizzy at first. It's all right. So far, I will.
What should we do next?
We find some... Although this blade has endured much turmoil, if a blade built for Ishin art cannot enter a state of harmony, if he wants to avoid reality, then we need to...
Wait a minute! Paimon remembers since the Takasukasa clan abandoned that secret base.
All right.
What about Amenoma?
The blade says he'll let Amenome Yuya trail us.
Are we sure this is a... Okay, fine.
I still have a lot to do at the guild. How about you take a rest while I go back? You should really bring the Knights of Favonius with you next time.